Lamont Bagby. I also like to recognize Carl Worth, who's to my left. He's a student at the Virginia Commonwealth University who will speak about his own experience with educational loans. As chair of the House Democratic Caucus, I am pleased to announce our support for legislation introduced by our delegates, Simon and Delegate Price, that will revive the Virginia Education Loan Authority, allowing borrowers to refinance student loans. More than 1 million Virginians carry at least some student loan debt, and they collectively owe more than $30 billion. The impact of that kind of debt on our state economy is profound. We want and need our young people to train for jobs that we need now and in the future. That could mean attending community college, training programs, technical schools, or our colleges and universities. The new Virginia economy is heavily focused on STEM-related fields, and we need a workforce with specialized skills to propel our growth and create more jobs. But the prospect of taking student loans is deterring many people from getting the education or training. Some graduates who carry significant amounts of debt have been forced to make other tough decisions that ultimately affect our economy, like buying homes, cars, and it has a chilling effect on other industry. Others are not pursuing careers in public service because they feel they must take higher paid jobs to make their student loan payments. Delegate Simon's bill will revive the Virginia Education Loan Authority, which will empower borrowers to refinance high interest loans, just as a borrower might refinance a mortgage on a home. It is estimated that more than 600,000 Virginians could benefit from refinancing student loans, potentially saving hundreds of dollars per month in payments. Helping borrowers refinance their loans will put more money back into the pockets of Virginians and boost the economy. Virginia's borrowers desperately need this option, and I look forward to working with my colleagues across the aisle to fight for students and graduates here in Virginia. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Delegate Marcus Simon.
Thanks, Delegate Herring. How are you?
Very
Good morning. And good morning, everybody. This bill, or this package of bills, the student loan debt legislation, probably looks familiar to some of you. One of the things you learn when you get to Richmond is as fast as things seem to happen, particularly during a 45-day session, a lot of the heavy lifting is done between sessions and our time off. And a lot of times to do something significant, it's a multi-year effort. You can't do it in one 45-day session. You can't introduce a bill on January 10th and expect that by crossover, sometimes 25 days later, hey, yeah, sure, we'll create a student loan refinance authority. It's a lot to ask, and we've done the heavy lifting, we've done that work, and we think we've got a much better product this year and this time around, thanks in large part to the input we've gotten from folks at Chev, Virginia 529, and the Treasury. Last year we brought two bills forward, a bill to create a refinance authority for student loan refinancing only, and a student loan ombudsman, and a student loan bill of rights. The House Commerce and Labor Committee said, those are great ideas, we think you're onto something. I think was the quote, you guys are really onto something here, but let's refer it to the professionals to take a look at so we can get some input, see what the downsides might be, make sure we don't have any unintended consequences. And what we got back was a 25-page report from Chev 529 and Treasury, which looked at this issue pretty thoroughly and reached a number of important conclusions. I mean, they concluded, one, there is a problem here, and we heard some of the numbers from Delegate Herring, some of the statistics, the amount of debt that's out there, and the impact that it's having on the economy. And they said, you guys have some good solutions, but you sort of, none of them are perfect exactly. And so there were a couple different approaches that are recommended. We're going to introduce legislation that addresses all of that, and we'll let the legislature decide what the best approach is. But we're going to start with, essentially, 529 and Chev said there's a go big approach or a go small, sort of incremental approach. Surprise, surprise, I'm taking the go big approach. And we're going to go ahead and bring back a Virginia Student Loan Authority in Virginia. The beautiful thing about doing it that way is it creates a much broader pool of borrowers. It allows new borrowers coming into the system to take out student loans at really beneficial rates using the leverage of the state's ability to issue bonds. It will also allow folks for the first time be empowered to refinance people's existing student loans. So the folks that have already gone ahead, I'm going to talk slower now. Because Alana's here. So, as I said, there's two different ways to go about it. I like the go big approach, which says, hey, we're gonna go big, we're gonna create a student loan authority, we're gonna, make loans to as many people as we can, get a good mix of incoming, low-risk students, and use that large pool to make it more affordable, and more worthwhile and less risky to refinance people with existing federal student loans that may be at 10, 11, 12%. Excuse me. Too many young borrowers these days are constrained by their student loan debt. Sorry about that. They're constrained by their student loan debt. I'm ruining the video. And it's causing them to make difficult decisions like not moving out of their homes. They aren't going to start households as soon. We know there's a number of factors that are causing millennials to delay getting out of their homes and starting their own households. But we know that one of these big ones is the fact that they're burdened with so much student loan debt. And, the concept here has always been a pretty simple one. My background is in real estate and real estate settlements. And when interest rates go down, thank you, people come in and they refinance their house, and they take advantage of market interest rates. So when the economy slows down, interest rates go down, and the good news is you go in, you refinance your loans, you get a lower monthly payment, you have frees up money for you to spend elsewhere in the economy. That's why we lower interest rates when the economy is slow, to allow people to spend more and stimulate the economy. There's no reason that federal student loans shouldn't be subject to those same market forces. Right now, everybody asks me, this is such a simple, such a good idea, who could possibly be against it, right? Who doesn't like this bill? The only folks that don't like it are existing loan servicers that are benefiting from an artificial market where they've got these guaranteed student loans, they can charge 10, 11, 12% interest rates, and they don't have any incentive to renegotiate or come down because you can't discharge those debts in bankruptcy. If the borrowers default, you've got a federal government or somebody else who's willing to come in and take up the slack. It's very difficult to default on those loans. It's difficult to pay them back, and you sort of get stuck in this endless cycle where you can never really, attack the principal. So we're hoping that our colleagues across the aisle like this idea, like this bill, and want to help us pass it. I've got a number of folks from the other side that have expressed an interest in becoming co-patrons. We've had Republican co-patrons for this idea in the past, and I expect that we'll have some folks want to do that again. But the main thing here is that we want to just let the market do its job and allow people to take advantage of a great market for really below, very low interest rates, still historically low, even though they're starting to creep up. Allow them to refinance their mortgages, put more money in their pockets, and hopefully that money comes out of their pockets and into the economy, so people can buy houses, buy cars, buy furniture, and do all the things that come with homeownership and entering and becoming really full participants in the Virginia economy.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Simon. We'll next hear from Delegate Marcia Price.
Good morning. As one of the few members of the General Assembly who is still in the process of repaying student loans, I'm keenly aware of the impact these loans can have. Today I stand with my colleagues hopeful that we can relieve some of the strain of student loan debt for our Virginia students and graduates. We are introducing legislation that would create the Virginia Student Loan Refinancing Authority. The board would be tasked with developing and implementing a pilot program aimed at helping the most affected with high interest loans. Virginia students at Virginia institutions of higher learning would be able to refinance their loans, making them easier to pay back. The cost of education should not be negatively life-altering. This and the other student loan reforms being proposed are huge for younger generations, but the benefits extend well beyond into other areas. We cannot move forward with a new Virginia economy when our next generation of leaders come out of school crippled with debt. It is my hope that the General Assembly can come together to help protect our future by helping these students pay back their loans. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Price. And next we're going to hear from our student from DCU, Carl Worth.
Hi. So student loans are an issue that can really result in some long-term consequences, namely debt and its far-reaching effects. I'm currently, as you said, a freshman at VCU, and that's just down the road. When I applied for student loans, I received a $2,500 unsubsidized and a $2,500 subsidized loan. While these loans are helping me afford to pay for a fourth year of education, they're also going to burden me with debt after I leave college. And this is something that's not just affecting me, it's a harsh reality affecting everyday students in Virginia. This has an increasing effect on the economy as student loan borrowers have reduced purchasing power, and this means that they are not purchasing homes, renting, buying furniture, or starting families. In addition to this, graduates are often forced to work in jobs that are not related to their passion, education, or skill set, simply to make minimum payments to avoid defaulting on their loans. This issue can put student loan borrowers at a disadvantage later in life as well, often affecting their credit score, which can result in limited opportunities to finance the purchase of a house. According to the Wall Street Journal, the graduating class of 2015 will be the most indebted ever, continuing a trend that has been seen for the last decade. This is a trend that I can personally attest to, as one of my close friends graduated from George Mason University with a degree in computer engineering. However, he had $30,000 in student loan debt, and just to make these payments, he had to take a job as a barista at Starbucks, obviously not something related to computer engineering. He took this job just to pay the minimum payments to avoid defaulting, and because he couldn't afford anything else, he had to move back in with his parents. He was not buying or renting a home, and really not contributing to the economy or not being a full-time participant, as you said. So, examples like this and examples of what I will face and what my friends will face are just one of the many reasons that I support this effort to refinance these student loans. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Are there any questions for our patrons?
Would it be geared toward nonprofit and for-profit loans, or how will refinance work?
So, it's not targeted necessarily. I mean, folks that go to for-profit colleges tend to come out with a larger balance, and so since they come out with a larger balance, they're more likely to benefit from the ability to refinance. If you come out with a $25,000 loan balance, frequently the cost of lowering your interest rate a point or two doesn't make a whole big difference. But we have folks that are coming out of a lot of for-profit colleges with $80, $90, $100 plus $1,000 worth of student loan debt, and so I would imagine that those folks would be the most anxious to take care of it. But keep in mind too, this isn't just for recent graduates. Speaking of the legwork we did on this bill, not this summer, but the summer before, I went toured. I think Karen, you covered some of those things in Richmond. We ran in Fairfax. We ran into a woman who graduated college now would be 16 years ago. And she went through a rough patch and had to do a forbearance where she wasn't making any payments on the principal and wasn't making any payments at all, so all the interest payments were being added back to the principal. And so she started out with about a $25,000 loan, but by the time she thought she was ready to start making payments again, had ballooned to like an $85,000 loan. And sometimes you have folks that have been out of college for 15, 20 years in many cases, and because they haven't necessarily understood the repayment terms and what the effect of taking a forbearance would do to them, are really in need of the ability to sort of renegotiate that whole loan as a package. Let's take that whole balance, let's consolidate it, let's refinance it, and let's get those payments down to 4.5%. And we've seen this, by the way, work successfully now for a couple of years in Rhode Island. Rhode Island Student Loan Authority was recently empowered to, in addition to making student loans, to refinance existing student loans. We've seen that to work for folks there, and they can take folks down from around an 8.5 or 9% loan, in their experience, down to about a 4 or 4.5% loan, and still have enough profit there to manage the risk and manage the potential defaults. So it's not like we're blazing a brand new trail here. Connecticut, I think, has been doing this now for a couple of years. North Dakota has a student loan bank where they have the state participating. So as time goes by, we're seeing how it works and that it works in other states, because we keep waiting for the federal government to sort of come up with a big rule. Since they sort of created this mess, we kind of hope they would fix it. But like a lot of things, sometimes the solutions are state by state.
What are some of the biggest differences between what you proposed last year and what you're proposing this year?
So last year's bill was specifically to create a student loan refinance authority, and the mission would have been specifically to refinance existing loans. What the folks at Treasury and Chef said is that's a great approach. The problem is, if somebody really needs to refinance their existing student loan, they're going to be one of your riskier class of borrowers. Wouldn't it be better if you could actually do something bigger than just refinance this? Let's bring back the Student Loan Authority, which used to be called VILA, And that way you can spread out that risk. So you get folks coming into UVA and William and Mary and, or go to, VCU for medical school that are taking on loans, but we think they've got a really good prospect of paying those back. That's very manageable. And we can mix those loans in with those folks that need to refinance to minimize the risk to the Treasury and minimize the risk to the authority. And by having a lower risk profile, it actually allows us to offer even lower interest rates, and there's real benefit.
So if I was a student and I was entering UVA and I was taking on, I'm assuming we're talking private loans, right? Private loans for education, not necessarily federal loans?
Right, so if in 2016, you would have taken out a private loan, you will now in 2018, hopefully, when our legislation passes, have an option. So you sit down with the finance director there to figure out how you're gonna pay for UVA. Well, there's these private products over here that work like this. You also may qualify for the Virginia Student Loan Authority loan, which works like this. So it'll be something that competes in a certain way with the private sector, but provides a public, alternative.
And this was something that existed before, but doesn't anymore? What happened?
From 1975 to 1997, we had a Virginia Education Loan Authority to make student loans and use, again, because we think there's a public interest in allowing people to afford higher education, we had a subsidized loan authority to help facilitate that through making of loans. In 1997, the Allen administration decided that Virginia ought not be in the business of making student loans. We should privatize that completely. And so we sold, essentially, the Student Loan Authority, sold the bonds, and went completely private. And it's interesting, you watch what happens when there was a movement across the country to privatize student loans. You can literally watch the curve for what happens to student loan balances. At the risk of sounding a little bit like a radical here, when you privatize things, you get more of it, right? Because the private sector is really good at manufacturing things. So if you're gonna make student loan debt a private enterprise, it's not surprising that you're gonna get a lot more student loan debt. For folks that think socialism is terrible, I agree, right? So let's socialize student loan debt, that way we'll have less of it, because we're not very good at producing it. Socialize the things you want less of, privatize the things you want more of. Student loan debt is something I think we all agree we want less of. So let's create some public alternatives for student loan debt.
How would the initial funding be handled for the program?
So the goal for both models is to make it self-sustaining. So there would need to be an initial cash infusion, but you'd have to authorize some bond sales. So it would take a while to roll up. I mean, there'd be a little bit of money you need at first, but most of it would be funded through the sale of these bonds. So you give the authority the ability to sell bonds, and then once you've got an initial bond sale, you'd have funds to start to operate and to loan out the authority. It would be, in Rhode Island, it actually, not only is it self-sustaining, but they end up contributing money back to the Treasury. It's become a profit center, not profit center, but a positive as opposed to a negative for the state Treasury. So I think there's a potential there to have it not only pay for itself, but to be a source of revenue to help use for student aid, for grants, and things like that in the future.
Any questions? Delegate Person, okay, I thank everybody for being here today and for covering this important issue to so many Virginians. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Brown, for a few minutes, if everyone wants to.